30-second board. Here are topics coming out of Anaheim 1. Like we said, some things you may or may not have even realized happened long before the racing took place on Friday. The partnership is announced. Troy Lee Designs will be running the forthcoming Ducati factory racing team in the United States. We anticipate that will probably start in 2026. Maybe we get a glimpse later in 2025, but just some solidity there of we've been mysterious on this Ducati thing. We got answers now.
Yeah, and that bike was nothing less than beautiful. And it's just another brand. We saw the success of Triumph joining Monster Energy Supercross and, of course, Pro Motocross as part of SMX. Ducati's on the way. And if you look at their other forms of racing and the dominance that they've had there, it's hard to think that they're not going to be competitive fairly quickly. Saw Tony Cairoli, 9-time world champion, walking around the pits. He was a member of Pro Motocross not so long ago. So let's see if we can get some glimpses of Tony here this summer.
I think that's what Ducati wants to do. I think they want to race a couple of Pro Motocross races late in the year. They say this bike will be on sale for consumers by July, but they've got to clear all the AMA homologation production hurdles, and they don't know if they're going to be able to do that, so they can't announce it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cairoli and a Ducati on track in 2025, which would be awesome. And who rides for him next year? Oh, that's going to be a spicy meatball. I guess Italian style there. Also on Thursday, Pay Dirt. We got to attend the premiere of The Story of Supercross. It's a documentary film, and I enjoyed it. I think it's especially, JT, important if you're not a hardcore Supercross fan. This is a great primer to pull you in.
Yeah, and I think there are so many people out there that are getting exposure to it. You think about when these races play on NBC, whether it's a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon, just by happenstance, new fans are going to be built through that. So for them to be able to go back, watch Pay Dirt, learn the history of the sport, and most importantly, the human element of this sport, and you learn some of the trials and tribulations of our former champions and how this sport came to be, I think it gives a really nice foundation for these people to take that knowledge and move forward. And into the next decade, they can really follow along this sport with the history side of it, now learned from that movie Pay Dirt.
Yeah, so look for it in theaters soon and streaming, I'm sure, as well. Just keep that name in mind, Pay Dirt, and then you'll find a place where you'll be able to watch it. Really well done. You mentioned when we said Ducati, the success of Triumph, who debuted in racing here in the United States last year, and another big milestone for them in Anaheim.
Yeah, we felt like it was so close. Jalek Swoll was right in the fight there in Philadelphia last year. Well, Jordan Smith makes good on it here in 2025. You can see the celebration and what it meant to that team for him to be up there. And I truly believe this is just the start. It's the tip of the iceberg for the success that Triumph is going to have. I do think there's a really strong chance that they win a main event in 2025. And I've said it from day one, I am blown away at the immediate success that this team has had against the ultra competitive 250s that have been developed over the last 20 years. So kudos to all them. It's just another milestone, like you said, and I think it's one of many more that they're going to have in short succession as well.
Yeah, when you take a rider like Jordan Smith on the mighty Yamaha Star Racing squad, and he rides about the same when switching to Triumph, that speaks volumes. But I want to move to the next topic. Look, the 450s are going to take the majority of the limelight, and congrats to Chase Sexton on getting the win. That's awesome. But Joe Shimoda, who has been labeled as the slowest starter season-wise, championship-wise in this sport, always known for getting on the back foot, winning round one, that is a massive takeaway for me. It's not going to be 450 level headline, but to me, it's one of the biggest stories.
But that label was appropriate. The data, Clinton Fowler, if he was on this segment, would tell you all the reasons we said absolutely. That bear out if you just look at the numbers. So I think that we all have to look at it and say there was a reason that we made those conclusions. He was going to start slow and try to kind of catch up as we went along. This changes the script entirely. So now immediately he's in the fight. And if he can progress from here, which is it's harder to do when you're winning races, feels like there's only one way to go from here. But at least it sets him up for a chance to be championship relevant because it's been the same story year in and year out. Yes, Joe Shimoda can win races, but by the time he figures out how to do so in that particular series, he's 40 points down. So we'll see where he goes from here. Can he handle the pressure of running around with red plates? Does it change anything in his racing? Or is this really the catalyst that he needed to really find his stride and go on and win these championships?
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely, the data pointed to he starts the season too slow. Now he wins round one. That flipping of the script that you mentioned, you love those kind of stories to come out of the opener. It's a real head scratcher where it goes from here. And that 250 West was already turned on its head when Levi Kitchen elected not to race. Now, JT, we know there's conspiracy theories out there that Kitchen was afraid of Hayden Deegan, and that's why he scratched at the last minute. But I say, well, he could have done that a month ago when Deegan said he was going to race West. I went over to the Pro Circuit pit. They even had him pitting out of a separate van to keep whatever illness he had away from the rest of the staff and his teammate Garrett Marchbank. So there's definitely an illness there, but this is not what we expected at all.
Yeah, I simply just don't buy that theory at all. And, Hayden Deegan leans into it and he's taking shots at Levi Kitchen and all those things. Heard the comments from RJ Hampshire that he heard rumors he was going to make a switch. That's fine. But when you look at the 250 East series that Levi has to go sign up for now, that's not a picnic. That's not like an easy way out to go race Vial and Hampshire. And there's multiple factory riders from multiple teams on the East now. And Hayden Deegan is going to be left to his own devices, even with a fifth on the West. So I just don't think logically you can make that jump to say that Levi Kitchen took the easy way out here. So it's unfortunate. It definitely was a bummer for the West series as far as engagement and all those things. But at the same time, Deegan didn't have a good race, so maybe he's going to have his hands full with the likes of Beaumer and Shimoda and all these other guys, Jordan Smith, that maybe we undersold the challenge that he's going to have with them anyway.
More news before the race started. On Friday, the announcement of the playoff locations for SMX and the World Final. Also, so we're back to ZMAX Dragway at Charlotte, and we'll still have the World Championship finale in Las Vegas at the drag strip there. Those two races have been really well received. We're really looking for something special for round two. And when you see St. Louis, a dome that's hosted Supercross before, you might think, well, that's good, but is it special? JT, I think when people see the track map, they're going to find out it's a lot different than a Supercross there.
Yeah, I think people were scratching their head, but when you really dive deep into the plan, where we're going to use these tunnels, which are going to open up to the convention center, that's going to allow us to have a more motocross type feel to it. There's also going to be sections where people can stand along the fence line that's going to feel like a pro motocross event too. So I think it's a home run. You talk to every single rider, and I'll throw myself into there even 12 years removed. St. Louis has some of the best, if not the best dirt around on the series, around the world. So to have a round there, and you look at the struggles we had in Fort Worth with the dirt, this is a huge upgrade. And I commend everybody involved because this was thinking outside the box to go to St. Louis for a playoff round. I think it's going to be great. The weather, the track, the uniqueness of it, the hybrid factor where we're going to be able to do both things. I can't imagine how riders are not excited about this.
Yes, and it keeps intact. The idea has been with the three races we've had each year, you have one in the East, one in the center of the country, one in the West, and it keeps that intact as well with those three final races for the year. So that's cool. That's the end of the year. We got to go to the beginning here. Slow start. We mentioned Deegan had his problems, but that was really just a racing incident, just typical start chaos. He rode well. I don't think there's any panic button there. I want to dive deeper into the Lawrence brothers. That was not the Jet Lawrence, JT, that we're expected to see. He did throw down some heaters in qualifying, not fastest, but in the hunt, but otherwise not good. Hunter Lawrence, I thought was going to salvage a decent finish in the main, and then that fell away, and we end up with both Lawrences outside the top 10. What happened?
Well, this was the worst race of Jet Lawrence's career. I truly believe that. Now, has he had worse results or things? Maybe, but when you look at the overall, the way the day went, heat race, the bad starts, the challenges he had, and the eye test too, he just did not look very good. Now, I would say we shouldn't be shocked that they had some troubles here because there was a lot of talk and chatter coming out of November and December that they weren't necessarily happy with how the 2025 motorcycle was working in Supercross, which is crazy because if you look back at 2025 motocross, Hunter Lawrence came out on fire at Unadilla and it really sparked something for him. And then Jet off an injury, was able to go out and win the SMX World Championship, those 3-round playoffs. So it's amazing to me that the bike is so much different outdoors than it is indoors. Now, Honda has a big challenge in front of them. They've got a few days to really take some big steps. And I don't know that they can, because when you think about, they've had, 6 weeks, 8 weeks of testing to take those steps, and they couldn't. Why would we magically assume that they're going to take this giant step in a couple of days? So the challenge for them is pretty clear. I just don't know that the solution is anywhere near as clear as the challenge is.
Yeah, that is the other side of the coin for sure. So here's Chase Sexton, who was struggling with his motorcycle a year ago, but to his credit, he managed to salvage some good finishes and actually even led the points early in 2024 Monster Energy Supercross. He is clearly much better this year. Tomac rode awesome, even though he only finished 5th with a crash. Let's talk about the KTM folks specifically. Also, when you consider Juju getting 2nd in the 250 division, what a night for them.
Yeah, and what a difference a year makes. It's almost like Honda and KTM switched scripts from last year to this year. Last year, everybody was talking about Chase Sexton. Could he get comfortable on the KTM? He told us in December of 2023 how challenging it was to get used to the bike. He didn't feel comfortable yet. That seems like the situation that Honda's in, and now KTM looks like they have everything figured out. Sexton really couldn't put a foot wrong other than one stall that wasn't even really a mistake. He just stalled it. It's not like he fell over. Otherwise, amazing night by Sexton. Starts, picture-perfect laps, had the pace to once again pull away from Ken Roczen after the stall. And then Juju on the 250, he's really emerging as a title contender in the 250 class in only his 2nd year. So the future's incredibly bright for KTM. And I'm just so amazed at how quickly the fates and the storylines can turn, because just when it seemed like Honda had everything going their way, like perfect setup, perfect riders, perfect everything, now it looks like KTM has all of that momentum in just one weekend.
So Sexton gets the win. He kind of made me laugh. He said he's old now. He's 25. He said he's embarrassed to say that he's 25 years old. JT, that is nothing in modern racing parlance. 30 plus has proven to be still relatively young, because look at the other guys right behind him. Roczen's now 30. Anderson is over 30. Tomac rode well. Cooper Webb is actually younger than them. He's not 30 yet. We just keep getting this reminder every year that late 20s, early 30s doesn't really make a difference. You're still competitive.
Yeah, if this was 1992, Chase Sexton would be signing up for his AARP card, but not in modern day racing. These guys have proven that you can be competitive into your 30s. Look at guys like Justin Brayton. You can do it. You know, modern technology and science and what we know about the human body has extended their performance period for racers, bar none. And this weekend was a testament to that. Those riders, the Eli Tomacs, Cooper Webb's not there yet, but he's getting there. Ken Roczen. These riders are all over 30, and I would argue they've never looked better. So it's amazing when we can have talent like Jet Lawrence at 21 years old. We can have Chase Sexton kind of in that middling ground, but then we have these prior champions over 30, Jason Anderson, of course, too, that look like they're on their best form of their life, and there's a 10-plus year age gap ranging those guys.
Yeah, you're in a pretty good spot for the series when a superstar like Ken Roczen is someone that people aren't even thinking about coming in, because there's so many other riders to think about. And then you're like, oh yeah, Ken Roczen's still here, still capable, still good. One more topic before we head to San Diego, and that's the track there itself. What do you see on the track map?
Well, last weekend was a very strange, atypical track. This is much more the norm, what riders are going to expect, what they would practice on during the week. A couple of important things here. Last week we had a myriad of 180s. This is going to be less. There are a few more 90-degree corners, which is going to make passing a little bit more difficult. But the one section there on our left of the screen, the whoops, before and after, there are 180s leading in and leading out, and that is going to set up block passing for most of the riders. So whether they have to build momentum and try to make the pass through the whoops and set up the pass going into the next corner, or however they want to do it, working all the way around this racetrack, that is going to be the spot that every single rider knows is a chance to make a move. So I think the riders will be comfortable here. Immediately, they're going to find some familiarity with this racetrack, but it is a far separation from what we saw in A1.
This weekend, we're headed to San Diego Super Motocross World Championship and Monster Energy AMA Supercross. Racing will begin at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, you can watch on Peacock or outside the United States on the SMX Video Pass.